An up-and-coming conservative comedian by the name of Owen Benjamin is going to school us leftists on why you can't argue with us. Let's take a look.
Do you and I share the same goals? If we do, we can disagree. Even
So... do we share the same goals? I don't know. You might have gotten your hair cut today. Maybe I went to the grocery store. Are those sharing the same goals? Well, let's assume he means long-term goals. I mean, we have to talk about... I mean, that's kind of a weird way to start your video. I'm just saying, like, do we share the same goals? It's like, well, what are you even talking about? It's kind of an awkward proposition to get on the... Like, where's the, like, what is your goal, then? Just state your fucking goal.
strongly disagree and still have a productive discussion.
Oh, really?
We might even reach a compromise. But if we don't share the same goals, then what? Then, rhetorically speaking, we're at war.
I mean, that strikes me as such a close-minded view of debate. If we don't have the same goals, then we must therefore be at war. Like, well, that just means you're stopping the discussion right there. Basically, having the same goals means nothing. All it means is that you have the same goals. It's got nothing to do with the subject at hand. That's just so purposefully vague, I think, in what you're trying to say. But I only gave him 20 seconds, to be fair. Let's hear him out.
And only one side can win. Let me explain. My parents and brother lean more to the liberal side of the political spectrum than I do. We argue, we slightly nudge each other, we change opinions a little bit, and then we go back to Scrabble. They were very...
Scrabble, that's... Like, I gotta give props to your family on still being able to stand each other enough to play Scrabble after you just got done fighting about abortion.
Very upset when President Trump withdrew from the Paris Climate Accords. I was happy. We argued about it, but it was all good because we share the same goals. We all want clean air and water for our children. We all want to develop clean energy. We want America's economy to prosper. We want to be less reliant on fossil fuels. I thought the Accords were a bad deal for America. The best way to lower carbon emissions, in my opinion, is to let the free market and American ingenuity loose on the problem.
Well, you're wrong. Because guess what? That's already what we're doing, and it sucks. We've let fossil fuel companies dictate their own policies for decades, openly and without any consequences. BP oil spill, what fucking happened? Oh, they apologized. What did you do about it? Nothing. Some other guy had to invent a machine to unclog the water and save the ducklings, but nobody gives a shit. Nobody is willing to step in. That's all the progressive left has been saying. As for the Paris climate deal, again, they take that so far out of context. All it was saying, you know, we're America, we're the leader of the free world, supposedly. Let's join the rest of the world in an act of solidarity. Let's just come to the table and acknowledge that this climate crisis is a real thing. It was never like, oh, you sign this deal, you're Europe's bitch now. We get to tell you what to do. No, it didn't mean anything. It was a simple agreement to reduce our carbon emissions and, you know, do something about it, and it wasn't even that specific. So to pull out of it is just basically a giant fuck you to the planet. That's all it is. It's saying, nope, we're special. You're not gonna get me to agree with something with every other country in the world. No, we're America, I'm special. I'm special.
They, in contrast, think the government needs to step in, fund the research, and keep the corporations in line. Doesn't matter, because we have the same goal. A healthy...
No, Owen, you're missing the point. Like, it does matter because you're a fucking idiot. Because one side is right and one side is wrong. You seem to be confusing between debate, which the idea is to win and to kind of flex your intellectual muscles. It's basically like MMA, or only with brain power and speech. That's like a competitive thing. But when the facts are not on your side, you either acknowledge it like a smart person would, or you double down and say, no, what, you're attacking me, and the facts are just not on your side, man. Climate change is real, immigration is not a threat, and you're being a baby.
Planet. We also disagree on gun control. My brother's a little more with me, but my dad wants a lot more regulation because he wants fewer school shootings. So do I. So does my...
Well, I don't. I guess we don't share the same goals after all, huh? I mean, they're entertaining, but aside from that, just assuming I don't entertain my sociopath side, again, this is another example where the facts are just not on your side. I've covered this in multiple videos where the argument on gun control is very simple. First you have to define your principles. If your principle is, I want all kids to be 10 times safer, you will enact gun control. That's going to reduce... I mean, that's exactly what happened in Australia. Granted, there were other factors. They don't have the same ubiquitous gun industry as we do. I mean, they don't have as many guns. They don't have as much crime. They don't have as much social unrest, perhaps, that would lead a kid to shoot up a school. But that's besides the point. If you want to reach this goal, you're going to side with the facts. But this is where conservatives, I believe, actually have different goals. I don't believe they have the same goals as I do. Their goal, at least when it comes to guns, generally, their attitude leans more towards anarchy. And I wouldn't... Look, I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with a free gun economy as long as they will acknowledge the consequences. You have to be able to say, I'm going to risk my kid getting shot. I'm okay with that. I'll just have him homeschooled or some shit. I'll put a bulletproof vest on him. I'll make super sure that he's... that on my own time, but I'm not going to let that interfere with my freedom to buy a gun. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Just stop pretending that maybe you're not. Look, we all want nice things, is basically what he's saying. Yeah, we want to reduce carbon emissions, but I'm just going to be a fucking simpleton and not actually think through the goddamn problem and look at the facts. I think that's the main difference between the left and the right, at least traditionally. But I don't think that's what he's getting at.
My brother. But I believe if a potential killer knew he'd encounter teachers and administrators well trained in the use of weapons, we'd have less shootings.
You're
different
fucking
solutions,
idiot.
shared goal. I've always thought this is how America is supposed to work. Liberals and conservatives respectfully arguing over the best solution to a shared goal. But now there's a third party in the game, the left.
No!
And they're changing the rules. When I was growing up, the left was on the fringe, but now they've moved into the mainstream. They've pretty much taken over our educational system. They're in the media, in corporate HR departments, and more, sad to say, in the Democratic Party. The left doesn't share the same goals that liberals and conservatives do. They have a whole different set of goals. Let me give you some examples.
Okay, so first of all, I wouldn't define those people that he just described, the establishment media, the teachers, etc. I always viewed them as not radicals. I mean, you're making them out to be these fucking huge radicals who want to overthrow the system, but it's the opposite. They're corporations. They are corporate dominated. From, the second you get to first grade, whichever district you live in, to the time you get your job. I mean, this country is just it's dominated by corporations, corporate interests. We know this. This is a fact. I never saw that as the left. But I'm all about words, and I always associate the word liberal with left. Now it seems conservative sites like PragerU are trying to separate the two, make them into two different camps. And look, I would agree with you have to be able to distinguish between the radical left, like the SJWs, who only care about race and gender and all this other bullshit that, maybe more centrist liberals don't want. But why is this even an issue? This isn't even like what it's about. These are not the issues that the left is about, at least not on the political level.
Raising kids without a gender identity or encouraging them to question their sexual identity. This to me is a form of child abuse.
Is it though? Like, is the way you worded it, encouraging them to question their sexual... I mean, I don't think you have to encourage them to do that. You know what encourages them to do that? A fucking boner, alright? When they get horny, okay? Like, no parent should ever have to step in and say, how is your penis functioning? So, what the fuck universe do you live in where this is a common thing with liberal parents? You think they're just playing Mr. Potato Head with their kids' dicks and like, oh, this one has a penis. That's not what we wanted. Fucking slap it on the other one. Oh, this one has a vagina. Take that off. Put that on his nose. It's like, what the fuck? This is retarded. I mean, yeah, there are some parents like that, granted. Maybe even more than we think. But you could just as well make the same case about the right-wingers who beat their kids with crucifixes within an inch of their lives because they're doing exactly that, because they're gay, or they're trans, or they're atheists, or something they don't like. So, I mean, when you talk about bad parenting, I don't think it has anything to do with politics at all. And you're just making that assumption without any real evidence.
I don't care who's doing it. Parents, teachers, doctors. Their goal is not my goal. Here's another one. Demonizing white people and males for the world's problems is not part of my value system. There is no shared goal in that. I believe in merit and character over race. But now it's cool to say that white males have done all the bad things in the world. I have 2 little boys. I get angry just thinking about people telling them they're responsible for racism and sexism. Beautiful little children who just dance in the kitchen and smile.
Yeah, but do they do that? Do people actually come up to your children on the street? You enslaved my grandfather. Is that really happening, Owen? Because if you are, get the fuck out of whatever town you're living in, if that's the case. But I really think you're just exaggerating here, and you're being a bit of a baby yourself. Because the people who do this are mainly on Twitter, and I don't know about you, but I tend to not give a shit what Twitter thinks 100% of the time. Yeah, absolutely 100% of the time. I do not give a fuck what people on Twitter say. Or for that matter, what people on college campuses say about race, about gender. You know why? Because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't make me cry and rethink my racial identity or my gender identity and have to double down on that. I'm a white man, but that has nothing to do with my personality, Owen. And I guess we're in agreement on that issue. The issue is just how you're framing it.
So that's not a shared goal. Here's the third example. People can differ about how many legal immigrants America should allow into the country. But when it comes to whether America should have open borders, well, there's no shared goal there. A country with open borders ceases to be a distinct country. And I want America to remain America.
Dude, do you even know what you're talking about? What is America? What is it? It's dirt with lines drawn around it, same as every other fucking nation on Earth. And even if you're arguing from a cultural perspective, I would say every other country, almost every other country, has a better case for, preserving their cultural heritage or what the fuck ever through borders. America doesn't really have that. We have more of a watered down, took things from other countries that were good and blew them up to a massive scale and pumped it full of oils, and it's just watered down corporate bullshit. So I don't see that much to preserve. And even so, Again, the majority of the left is not arguing for open borders. Neither am I, really. I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't give a shit. But, have your fucking... Every Democrat, every single one, saying we need a strong border. They just won't have a wall because that's a giant waste of money. So, again, you're taking this so far out of context, it's retarded. Come on. Come on, Owen, comic to comic. You know you're full of shit, right? Come on.
All these ideas, and I could give you a dozen more, are coming from the left. They want to turn the history of Western civilization, of America, a history I'm very proud of, into a highlight reel of human errors. These ideas...
Yeah, isn't that what it is, though? Isn't that what history is, really? I mean, yeah, you've had your great minds like Einstein and Tesla and, Martin Luther King, but... I mean, mostly it was a series of demented fuck-ups, right? And it's not all white people, but guess what? Guess who was the majority in America since the beginning, since we took it from the natives? That was white people, okay? That's why when you have a class on American history, most of it's going to be white people fuck shit up. Now, should that be our education system? Should that be the... I don't think so. I don't think we should demonize white people, obviously. But, I mean, that again is the issue of the progressive left has a better hold on. Because they're arguing, no, it's the for-profit system of education that has failed us and has actually brought upon the issue of identity politics. In the form of demented leftists, and it's a bunch of fucking monkeys. They're a bunch of idiots. But again, I just don't agree with the framing.
It's threatened everything I cherish. My family, my community, my country. And what does the left offer in its place? Nothing constructive that I can see.
If you say so, buddy.